Hello friends, welcome back. For those who are new here, I'm Kat. I'm a wife, a homeschool mom, and an avid reader. It is time to do my March wrap up and kind of look at some of my stats for the first quarter of the year and where I'm standing. I'm going to start with March's stats. I read 8 books and 4,138 pages. And when I broke that down, sorry, I'm trying to work around a cat here in my lap. That was 5 fantasy, 1 sci-fi, 1 historical, and 1 classic. I did not count one of mine that probably really was fantasy, but I did count it as a classic. Of those, 4 were adult, 3 were YA, 1 was middle grade, and I had kind of an even month as far as how I listened to books or how I consumed them. I had 3 physical reads, I had 3 digital reads, and I had 2 audios. It really gave an interesting mix to my March reading. So let's get into some of the books I read. The month of March was Steph Love's final book support group month-long readathon. And so most of what I focused on during the month of March were continuing series that I had. I'm going to do these in the order they're stacked here. Normally, I would do them in the order I read them, but I have a little furry thing here keeping me from doing things that I normally would. So, one of the books that I completed this month is Dragonfly in Amber. This is the second of Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series. In this one, again, if you didn't watch my March TBR video, this is following Claire and Jamie as they are going through the second kind of half of their life together before she returns through the stones and before Culloden. This, again, was a reread. I had so much fun with it. I loved every moment of it. There were some parts that I think I might have... Oh, are you leaving me? I think I might have dozed off in because there were parts that I was pretty sure were supposed to happen, but I don't remember them happening in that book. And I may be getting books mixed up, but enjoyed it completely, 5 stars. Another book that I read to continue series is Firefly's Life Signs. This one was takes place after Inara had left Serenity, and I really enjoyed this one. As I said in my April TBR video, I did realize that the next book in this series is not written by James Lovegrove. And so I'm a little bit concerned on how I'm going to feel about it, but I have loved James Lovegrove's writing of the Firefly series. And so this one I gave 4.5 stars. Next up, I have Into the Wood Racked Winds. This is the continuation of the Up and Under series. In this one, we have 2 children, I think they're both around 10, who have been transported into this other realm. And it's been a lot of fun because it's kind of seeing what adventures that 2 kids who have grown up on the same street but have never met can get into. This one, I enjoyed it. There were some parts in this, though, that I felt a little lost. It did not seem to me to flow quite the same as the first two books. And then the fourth book comes out this fall. So I'll have to see if this book just had a little bit of middle grade syndrome, middle book syndrome, or if it was maybe my reading place, my mental mind frame for this one. But I did enjoy it at 4 stars for me. The next one that I had for continuing series was Rosira Mundi's Fury song. This is part of the Aurelian cycle. This is the final book in that. I had so much fun reading this series, and I am so thankful that I was able to hear about this one when I did. I know some people have just started reading it and have enjoyed it a lot. It is a military fantasy, so if you don't like that, this may not be the book for you, but I know a lot of people who love dragons who have really enjoyed this book. Fury Song was definitely a 5 stars for me this month. And I think, let me double check my book. All right, so the one of the ebooks that I read during the month of March was Charm. This is the 4th. I can't remember, 4th or 5th. I'm just gonna double check. This is the nice thing of having everything written down in my bullet journal. This is the 5th book in the Crave series. This is the one that's following Grace, who was not magic, or as far as knew, it was not part of the magical world, and that the magical world, supernatural beings, did not exist. And then she ends up dumped in this world by going to a supernatural high school where she is the only human. And she finds out that her uncle and her cousin are witches. This 5th book actually takes place between the 1st and the 2nd book. Most of the events take place in, but you really do want to read it after the 4th book, because there are a lot of parts in there that will help to let you understand what was going on. This is definitely a series that a lot of people I know have struggled with Crave, but from the 2nd book on have loved the series. So if you are looking for a vampire, dare I say, Twilight-esque supernatural book, this one is a lot of fun. Just be forewarned about that 1st book. For Charm, I gave it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it a lot, and it was nice to kind of get to go back, but at the same time, you kind of feel discombobulated because it is jumping back, and so you're trying to figure out how all of this fits in. But lots of fun. The other digital ebook that I read during March, or another one that I read, was The Wicked Remain by Lori Pohl. This one is part of the Grimrose Girls series. And I want to say that one's just a duology, but I do not know for sure. In The Wicked Remain, we're following these best friends who have found out that a lot of their life is almost predestined. It was an interesting twist on things, But I am finding out that some YA is not for me. And that's the case with The Wicked Remain. It read a little younger than I would have liked. It is well written. It just didn't hit me the same as, excuse me, some of the other books that I read during the month of March. For Wicked Remain, I give it 3 stars. The third ebook I read, and actually I read half of it in March and finished it in April, is Beowulf. This is a classic piece of poetry that we aren't even really sure who wrote it. I did read the new translation that is on Kindle Unlimited, and this one takes the poem and puts it into prose. So it's more of a story form. But I also listened to the original as I was reading it via LibriVox. So this one kind of ran as dual, but I did count it as an ebook. And I am not giving this one a star rating just because it is a classic and it's one that I'm looking at possibly using when I teach British literature in a couple years from now. Beowulf is, I think its bones are really good and it has a lot of action in it. Like most of the book is just boom, 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 something's happening. You know, they're fighting Grendel, they're fighting Grendel's mother and then the dragon. With a big time jump in the middle of that. But there's so much that when it was originally translated was added to make it acceptable, I guess, as reading material. Instead of it just being enjoyed for it being an epic poem, there was a lot added. And this is something that I think if I do teach it, that I will let us play with that a little bit and get kind of a taking it from that and even letting my high schoolers pare it down to what they think it should be, because there is a lot in there and it's kind of wordy. I keep thinking about it as these epic poems were read by were told by troubadours who normally were mostly uneducated. These pieces are meant to be consumed orally, and not necessarily read off the page. And so as you look at the different translations, trying to find the right one for that can be difficult. But Beowulf, if you haven't read it, I really do recommend that you read it at least once. Again, I'm not giving it a star rating. I think that would hurt my ability to teach it later because I'd have a little bit of a prejudice one way or the other. But it is one that I think everyone should read at least once. Then the final book for the month of March was The Adventures of Amina al-Safari. This one, I really enjoyed this one. I know not everyone did, but this one was a lot of fun because it's playing with some themes that we see a lot in adventure books, but also added the age element. So in Amina al-Safari, we have a mother of a 10-year-old who is going back out on an adventure. There were some, I don't want to say problems, but there were some valid critiques on this book that I have heard, and that being things like it took too long for the real action to get started, and I can totally see that. You kind of start out and it's like she's being a mom and she's goes out on a scouting adventure, as it were, and her whole thought process is, you know, her daughter, which as a mom, I totally understand, but it does take a little bit for you to kind of wrap your mind around that, and that kind of difference in lifestyle that not everyone has. So it was one that I know a lot of people who read it, especially those who were not moms, had a little bit harder time with that. But I had a lot of fun with that part. For Amina El-Safari, I would give it 4.5 stars. It was great. It was written very well. Again, some of that action could have started earlier, and there were some things that probably could have been taken out to get to that action. But overall, it was a fun read. So that leads me to kind of where I'm at for the year. I have read 28 books so far during 2023. That puts me at about 28% of my yearly goal, or it does put me at 28%. My yearly goal was to read 100 pages of my books, or 100, not pages, 100 books during the year 2023. Sorry. And that puts me with my page goal. I wanted to read 35,000 pages for the year, and currently I'm at 33% with 11,498 pages. So I am definitely way ahead as far as pages, and I'm only a little bit ahead as far as books read. I am 3 books ahead right now, not including anything for April. So this is kind of putting me right on track of where I wanted to be for my reading goals, and I am very excited to be at this point after finishing 1/4 of the year. How about you? Where are you at with your yearly reading goals, or what was your favorite book during the month of March? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see if it's a book that I too would be interested in. Leave me a like or subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.